The Battlestar Galactica universe is home to some of the most iconic ships found in the sci-fi genre. The Cylon Raider is no exception. This fighter craft, which makes up the majority of the Cylon fleet, has evolved throughout the different installments of this unique space opera. In this video, I'd like to discuss this unique ship as featured in Ronald D Moore's reimagined Battlestar Galactica series, with a special focus on one Cylon in particular, Scar, the deadliest raider in the fleet. The machine race of Cylons were created by man. They evolved and rebelled. A long and bloody war ensued between them and the 12 colonies of Kobol. Eventually, an armistice was reached, but 40 years later the Cylons returned to exact revenge on the humans that had previously enslaved them. The setting for this reimagined science fiction series sees the colonial refugee fleet protected by the Battlestar Galactica and her collection of Vipers as they journey across the universe seeking a new home after the Cylons decimated their homeworlds in a bid to wipe out the human race. They are hunted relentlessly along the way as the Cylons seek to finish what they started. Their enemy had undergone dramatic changes and advancements to their technology and arsenal. One particular Cylon creation that continued to be a thorn in the side of the colonial fleet was the Cylon Raider. However, there is one raider in particular that made an indelible mark on the Viper pilots of the fleet. This raider came to be known as Scar, and the lessons learned by the pilots who survived an encounter with this unique enemy would not soon be forgotten. The modern Cylon raiders that the colonial fleet must now contend with are far different from their war-era predecessors they faced decades ago. The original vessel resembled that of a bird's wing and was designed to be able to hold a crew of 3 Centurions. This iteration of the Raider is heavily inspired by those of the original Glenn A. Larson series, with the same basic design and crew complement. The modern Raider is sometimes referred to as the Sparrow, as their appearance is similar to its previous iteration, also resembling bird's wings. This new model had otherwise undergone significant changes and thus presented new challenges for the ragtag colonial fleet to overcome. Initially thought to be entirely machine with a separate artificial intelligence controlling the raiders, this craft was later discovered to be biomechanical in nature. Colonial fighter pilot Kara Thrace, call sign Starbuck, found this out firsthand after crash landing on a small moon following a dogfight against the Cylons. It is here that she stumbles upon a damaged raider that also crashed during their skirmish. While attempting to board the vessel to assess whether or not the vehicle is still spaceworthy and able to carry her back to the Galactica, she discovers bloodstains, biological tissue, and instead of a cockpit, a mass of organs, including a brain and an abundance of veins, ligaments, and tubes, as well as an oxygen supply to support these biological components. The Cylon Raider isn't a ship at all really, but rather a Cylon itself, genetically designed to function as both a military vessel and fighter pilot. As sentient beings, these raiders are capable of independent thoughts and actions, instilled with basic survival instinct and a lower level of intelligence than the Centurion and humanoid models. They function and are treated as that of a trained animal within their society. So while the raiders make for a formidable adversary, they are not as skilled as human pilots. These sentient raiders, though animal-like in intelligence, are quite capable of learning and adapting to the tactics of their human enemies. As biomechanical beings, modern raiders are able to make use of Cylon resurrection technology, and so when a raider is destroyed, its consciousness is downloaded into a new chassis. Thus, they are able to retain all of their prior experience and knowledge about their enemy. Over time, this enables them to improve their combat performance. It is this brutal learning process that created the nightmare raider known as Scar, so named for the extensive battle damage the fighter sustained since his last resurrection and over numerous confrontations, setting him apart from his identical brethren. Death has taught him much about his enemy, but it has also filled him with rage and hate. Just because he has been able to resurrect, it doesn't erase the pain and trauma he's experienced at the hands of human Viper pilots time and time again. The colonial fleet first encounters the unusual raider during a crucial mining operation in an asteroid field. the fleet must take time to harvest raw material that could be used to build 2 additional squadrons of Vipers, a mission vital for the fleet's long-term protection. Although if Scar has his way, the number of pilots left to fill those Vipers would be greatly diminished. What further adds to the complexity of the situation is that at this time, both humans and Cylons are equals, as before this operation began, the Cylons' nearest resurrection ship was destroyed. Without this technology, the death of any Cylon Raider is permanent. As a result, large squadrons of Raiders are not being deployed to engage the colonial fleet, and at this point only a few Raiders are being sent to impede the mining process. Even though he is programmed to perform his task as a fighter and is eager to exact revenge, Scar still has a strong will to survive. Having to adapt to his new circumstances, he employs ambush tactics, waiting until the odds are in his favor to engage. While squadrons of Vipers are available to protect the mining ship, Scar uses his environment to his advantage, hiding among the asteroids or using the light of the nearby sun to hide his approach and obscuring the vision of enemy Viper pilots. Like a predator taking advantage of his prey's weakness, Scar lies in wait until he has the upper hand. Then suddenly, in a matter of seconds, he attacks, picking off inexperienced pilots and jumping away before anyone even knows what is happening and is able to return fire. Some may consider this behavior cowardly, but as Starbuck points out, in wartime, fighting fair is not an option. Scar exposes the weaknesses of their most battle-hardened Viper pilots. His kill count and fearsome reputation is a devastating blow to the surviving colonial fighters' morale, and serves as an ever-increasing challenge for them to overcome. It is speculated that Scar is the very same Raider that Starbuck found and dissected in order to gain full control to fly back to the Galactica. If this is true, then I believe it's possible that Starbuck's efforts in tearing apart the Raider impressed on Scar the measures that have to be taken in order to ensure one's survival. This episode featuring this unique Cylon is a fan favorite, not only for its focus on the lives of the individual Viper pilots and their struggles to protect the fleet, but also for its depiction of the Cylon Raiders as more than just cannon fodder. This episode also highlights the heavy toll of the physical and emotional scars of war from those on both sides of this conflict. It's an excellent peek behind the curtain into the psyche of the Raiders themselves, adding an interesting dimension to the story. But I'm curious to know what you think about Scar. Do you enjoy the way this character gives us a look into the psyche of the Cylon Raiders? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Battlestar Galactica and other sci-fi and fantasy news and lore. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.